The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli, Chapter 13, translation by David Wooten, read by Sam Chang. Chapter 14. What a ruler should do as regards the militia. A ruler, then, should have no other concern, no other thought, should pay attention to nothing aside from war, military institutions, and the training of his soldiers. For this is the only field in which a ruler has to excel. It is of such importance that military prowess not only keeps those who have been born rulers in power, but also often enables men who have been born private citizens to come to power. On the other hand, one sees that when rulers think more about luxuries than about weapons, they fall from power. The prime reason for losing power is neglect of military matters, while being an expert soldier opens the way to the acquisition of power. Francisco Sforza, because he had troops, became the Duke of Milan. Having begun life as a private citizen, his descendants, who had no taste for the sweat and dust of a soldier's life, started out as dukes and ended up as private citizens. For, among the other deleterious consequences of not having one's own troops, one comes to be regarded with contempt. There are several types of disgrace a ruler should avoid, as I will explain below. This is one of them, for there is no comparison between a ruler who has his own troops and one who has not. It is not to be expected that someone who is armed should cheerfully obey someone who is defenseless, or that someone who has no weapon should be safe when his employees are armed. For the armed man has contempt for the man without weapons. The defenseless man does not trust someone who can overpower him. The two cannot get on together. So, too, a ruler who does not know how to organize a militia beyond the other dangers he faces, which I have already described, must recognize that he will not be respected by his troops, and that he cannot trust them. So a ruler must think only of military matters, and in time of peace he should not be even more occupied with them than in time of war. There are two ways he can prepare for war, by thinking and by doing. As far as actions are concerned, he should not only keep his troops in good order and see they are well trained, he should be always out hunting, thereby accustoming his body to fatigue. He should take the opportunity to study the lie of the land, climbing the mountains, descending into the valleys, crossing the plains, fording rivers, and wading through marshes. He should spare no effort to become acquainted with his own land, and this for two reasons. First, the knowledge will stand him in good stead if he has to defend his state against invasion. Second, his knowledge and experience on his own terrain will make it easy for him to understand any other landscape with which he has become acquainted from scratch. The hills, the valleys, the plains, the rivers, the marshes of, for example, Tuscany, have a good deal in common with those of the other regions of Italy. A knowledge of the terrain in one region will make it easy for him to learn about the others. A ruler who lacks this sort of skill does not satisfy the first requirement in a military commander, for it is knowledge of the terrain that enables you to locate the enemy and to get the edge over him when deciding where to camp, and in what order to march, how to draw up the troops on the field of battle, and where to build fortifications. Philopoemen, ruler of the Achaeans, is much praised by the historians, but in particular he is admired because during peacetime he thought about nothing but warfare. When he was out riding in the countryside with his friends, he would often halt and ask, "If the enemy were up on these hills, and we were down here with our army, who would have the better position? How would we advance, following the rule book, to attack him? If we wanted to retreat, how would we set about it? If they were retreating, how would we pursue them?" And so he would invite them to discuss as they rode along. all the possible eventualities an army may have to face. He listened to their views, he explained his own, and backed them up with arguments. Thanks to his continual theorizing, he ensured that, if he was at the head of an army, he would be perfectly prepared for anything that might happen. Such theorizing is not enough. Every ruler should read history books, and in them he should study the actions of admirable men. He should see how they conducted themselves when at war, study why they won some battles and lost others, so he will know what to imitate and what to avoid. Above all, he should set himself to imitate the actions of some admirable historical character, as great men have always imitated their glorious predecessors, constantly bearing in mind their actions and their ways of behaving. So, it is said, Alexander the Great took Achilles as his model. Caesar took Alexander. Scipio took Cyrus. If you read of Scipio, you realize to what extent those qualities that are admired in Scipio derive from Cyrus. His chastity, his affability, his kindness, his generosity, all are modeled upon Cyrus as Xenophon portrays him. A wise ruler will follow these examples. He will never relax during peacetime, but will always be working to take advantage of the opportunities peace presents. So he will be fully prepared when adversity comes. When his luck changes, he must be ready to fight back.